Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Creative Careers Leadership Lab. This is a workshop number 2 for dance and theater. My name is Isi Zavalos. And so thank you for joining us. I hope that you find this helpful as we're going to go through helpful tips that will help you in this workshop. So I just wanted to kind of run through. We're going to focus on step 2 and step 3 from the first workshop, because that's kind of going to be the foundational template from what we're going to pull from today. If you have already set the container for your story circle sharing, probably already did your story circle sharing. One of the things I'm suggesting after you shared your stories in a circle is that you individually, right after your story circle sharing, you take at least 20 to 30 minutes to just journal what you just shared, things that came up for you, things that you might have remembered or forgotten. And then at the bottom, after that paragraph that you have written about your journaling, that you would just write words that maybe kept coming up as you were sharing your story, or the words that you were listening, you're hearing come up with your peers sharing their stories. So that's how we're going to pull those words into the word cloud, and then you can build your theme from that. So by this point, you should be familiar with cultural capital. Tara Yoso's description of a cultural capital is, and the power of community, and a transformative resistance when identifying, the cultural capital assets that you have that you can bring to the table. And so I'm hoping that by this point, you're also developing movement motifs from these words. It could be one movement, it could be a couple of movements, it could be a whole phrase that you want, a minute-long phrase, whatever it is that could be helping you. So we're going to move on to the next. So again, I just touched base on the journaling. Make sure that your stories are, authentic to you, and whatever you're sharing, make sure that you're comfortable in sharing whatever that is for you. You don't have to go into traumatic experiences. I also did keep it open when I said that the prompt was to share a memorable experience in a public space in your city. So by memorable, I meant it could be memorable as in something beautiful, great experience, or it could have been something that was like hard or heavy for you. And it's up to you to, your discretion to share however much you want to, so long as you feel in a safe space that has been created in that story circle sharing. We are going to dive a little bit more into art activism, generating work through that lens. And so it's important. This is why we're sharing our lived experiences. We're sharing stories, because we're able to tap into our humanity. We're able to tap into that empathetic part of ourselves to develop a story. Again, word cloud is going to be your main source for, really generating a theme and an idea. Make sure that once you have those words on your word cloud, let's say you choose 5 words. I would also say keep it short. Don't use maybe like 10 words that are coming up, because then you'd have, more to decipher through. Just maybe choose 3 to 5 words. And then create kind of like a main score sheet for you. So write those words down. Somebody can be, volunteer to be the person that's going to hold on to the sheet. And I'll also share more notes on that, but make sure that you have a core main sheet for where you're going to write down these words. So I want to share an exercise that could help you all to continue to develop theater-based movement and possibly the theme that you're trying to generate. So I'm going to use TO, Theater of the Oppressed exercise. And so I just wanted to, you have the sheet here, you can read through this, but this is Augosto Boal's Brazilian dramatist idea, and his take on Paulo Freire's Pedagogy of the Oppressed, a book written about basically transformative resistance, seeing how we can humanize the experience of underprivileged, underserved communities and empowering them through teaching techniques where the communities themselves that are underserved can empower themselves. And so Augosto Boal, a dramatist, actually took this and created theater-based exercises that included and created an inclusive environment for all in the community, wherever he was traveling to or wherever he was locally, which was in, I believe, Rio de Janeiro, where these workshops were being developed. And the magic of this was that he would set up prompts of like everyday lived experiences, everyday people, and they would sort of do these exercises, and they were sharing their lived experiences. They were affirming the cultural capital assets. So a lot of this stuff that I'm, sharing with you today intertwines with Yoso's cultural capital and also theater of the oppressed. One point I do want to make also is that in order to make an all-inclusive environment, let's say you're in a group right now of 3 and maybe you have a trio, maybe you have 4 people in your group, depending on how many people, all of you will be involved. There should not be one main person only, or one person, the focus, unless that's your artistic take, that's totally fine. But in developing this, even if you're doing an exercise, you're the spectator, you're also the spect actor in Boal's vocabulary use, which means that even if you're sitting on the sidelines, you're watching, you're still engaged, and you can always be a part of it. Bring yourself to the work. So an example. So one of the exercises is called image theater. And so what you're going to do, this works great with pairs and threes. There's a lot of different exercises, and a lot of them actually are worked on bigger groups. But because I'm not clear how many groups, how many folks you have in each of your groups, I did want to do an exercise that could be helpful for even starting with a duet and even, more than 2 people. So this starts off, and you could be in a circle, and you invite 2 people to enter the center of the circle, and you both do an expression that could be an everyday expression. So for example, I wrote here, you can do a wave hello. And so you freeze. There should also be someone that could be guiding this. It's called the Joker. Augosto Boal calls it the Joker, but you can think of this person as the facilitator. So this person is neutral. This person is just helping navigate. If you don't have enough, like a third person, or, if it's just you 2, then you 2 can self-guide this. But ideally, there would be a facilitator. So 2 people freeze. So you're working sort of as kind of like the statues. And then the people observing, the spect actors, start whenever they feel free to say like what they see. They can say 2 people saying hello, 2 people saying stop. I very much invite you to really let your creativity guide you in this exercise. So maybe look past just like a waving hello, and what other messages could this be portraying? Could this be wanting to tell? What story can be even developed out of just a simple gesture of doing that, right? So at this point, you take that moment, you say out loud what you're seeing. Then one person that's engaged as a statue will unfreeze, go back to the circle, and now we'll invite a second person to come in. Now this person will choose to do something different, completely different, or respond to this. So it could even be that the person that's saying hello, and then the second person comes in and could do a gesture like this. So then that dynamic completely changes, right? That sort of communication went from a hello to something that could be, like I see someone about to be hit, or even something like this. And if the second person comes in and like does this, it just completely changes the way that we view this gesture, right? Again, take a moment, share what you're seeing, and switch to the next person. You can do this however many times. It's a lot, you can be more engaged and a lot more fun if you have more people, but as this could also be something that you can work with within 2 people. The other thing that I did want to point out is that cultural capital does play a part in this. What we individually may perceive from the images in this exercise could vary, and that reflects our lived experience, the ways we observe our environment and culture. So this is also a really great exercise in which, you know, every person in this exercise may be perceiving something different. And I invite you all to accept and be engaged into like whatever is going to be shared, because it's actually informing where you come from, and you know, the experiences that you may have are actually activating something in your brain by seeing, you know, these poses in this exercise. So that's image theater. And then we're going to go into so now we're going back to step 3 from workshop number 1. So this slide I just copied and pasted and brought it back to this workshop number 2, just so that we can again go through like, okay, now we're going to pull from this. Scoring your movement. We're going to dig into scoring your movement today. Again, questions that are coming up for you, maybe like, are you developing a main character, or are you having multiple characters? How are you now investigating, exploring what movement language looks like with creating a narrative, right? Do you have a working title as of now? Again, there's no pressure on the working title. It could actually come towards the end, but I'm just putting it out there so that you are aware and still conscious of that. And again, like, how far is your story developing right now? Are you in the process of having created maybe like a good chunk, but you don't even know if that's like going to be in the middle, or that's going to be in the end, or in the beginning? Definitely suggest that you're holding on to that, and that, you know, as you keep developing more movement, more story, I think the story itself and within your peers, you'll get to find out where that's going to land. So main way to score the dance is recording. I think, or yes, the piece is recording. The fastest thing would be your phone. Excuse me. One of the things that I've seen that you know, even when I was in the dance company, or that, you know, even with other peers that were doing like separate projects, we tend to go to WhatsApp. That's an easy way. If you are not familiar with WhatsApp, excuse me, it is an app where basically you can share video. It's a messenger app, but you can create groups. So as you create like whatever the piece is, the working title. Oh my gosh, excuse me, I'm so sorry. Ooh, I have a tickle in my throat, I'm sorry. So the really fun thing about WhatsApp is that you can create a group, invite those through your phone numbers, and in that group, you can send your videos, send text into that group, and then you'll just have a compilation of like everything that's sent. To just, you know, and it's easy to have access through your phone. You can also do that through Google Chrome, but I find that it's really it's a lot easier to send video files and keep them in a group sharing base with WhatsApp. And also you can have Vimeo or YouTube. Vimeo, I personally think for some reason it features the video better, and it's just it feels a little bit more private in a sense. Like it's just not there's not so much content as there is on YouTube. And it's one where you're able to download longer files, and it's just streamlined a lot better for me personally, Vimeo. So I would also suggest Vimeo, where you can keep your videos and also keep them as private so that it's only shared with you and your peers. And so, so I would suggest to also do writing. Most of the time, what I've seen is folks just keep it in the videos. I think is very helpful to have an actual written score sheet. So I'm going to show you an example of what this looks like. So I have written here on the slide from top to bottom. This could be a written sheet like Google Note, whatever comes easy for you, bullet pointed, that could work. And then just say, you know, two artists are standing, C is center. I'm sure your theater teacher by this point might know, you know, the directions of the stage. So I just kind of use these acronyms or these capital letters to just guide me. But two artists standing center, one dancer in slow motion starts to lower itself down onto the ground. So you'll see one dancer, they're standing next to each other. The other dancer, right arm curves overhead left to right. And then left arm daggers through diagonal and then pulls back and softens, right? So the movement looks like this, and dagger, pull back and soften. That's the actual movement, and I've written it out in this form. There, you know, there is actual like dance notation, but it's very elaborative, and there's just like so many diagrams you have to abide by. And so this to me seems like a very much more practical and effective way to guide myself personally through scoring a dance. So you can make lists out like this. I would also say when you have the combination of both video that you can see this and you have it written, it's very, you know, you have a lot less likely chances to lose the material that you generated in your rehearsals. So one of the main things in working together in a group is that it's important to create a democratic environment. So that just means, how are you able to make sure that everyone in the space is being included in some way or another? Creating a structure, there is this beautiful dichotomy of freedom and structure that lives in also being in the creative process. So you do have to have a structure. I mean, there could be someone that's like, hey, I'm going to just guide us through this, and then whoever wants to jump in can, you know, chime in on whatever movement we can, you know, add to this certain section. Or, you know, I want this part of the story to really be highlighted. And then you all can think about it and say, hey, what does everyone think? Do you all want to do that? Like, and one of the main things is always continuously check in with each other. I think it's sometimes we can get lost in sort of the very vertical power dynamic where there's like only one, you know, person telling everyone else what to do. But my goal with this project is that you all are able to figure it out in a collective way, as if you all were in a company, but you all were working collectively in a democratic fashion, right? So I will tell you, working in this way takes a little bit longer than if it were just one person dictating everything, you know, for everyone else to do what they're saying. So, but have patience with that, and embrace that. And sometimes it'll take a little bit longer to all come to a consensus on certain decisions to make. And embrace the time that it takes, because you'll feel really great once you all know that you're moving in the same direction, right? You're flocking together. And the other thing I want to say, that this is just kind of side note, as an artist working collaboratively, sometimes we, especially when we share our personal stories or are kind of bringing personal moments or thoughts or ideas, you tend to want to hold on to those strong, or make sure that they make it to the piece some way, and if they don't, maybe there's some feelings behind that. And I think there's, especially working in a collaborative environment, I think the main focus for you know, to remind yourself to refocus is what is going to be best for the project. What is the actual vision for this piece, for this work, and how am I going to just help it tell this narrative, right? Whether it includes a little solo section for me, or it just has me, you know, in the background, whatever the piece is developing it to be, all of you in your group should really have the sole focus that it should be geared towards whatever works for the work itself. So just keeping that in mind, definitely we're working collaboratively. So at this point, you should be kind of really thinking, diving into what story are you trying to tell? Do you already have a sense of a theme? One of the main things I want to point out as well is do not be scared to generate a conflict and a resolution, in the story. In this case, going back to Augosto Boal's Theater of the Oppressed, there's a lot of, I guess, oppressed resolution. So the stories are told from folks that are coming from communities, neighborhoods that they have felt the heaviness, the weight of maybe being, prejudiced or experiencing racism, classism. And so, if you're sharing these stories, some of those stories might be tied to these ideas, to these themes. And don't be scared to share authentically, share vulnerably, maybe a theme that could present itself as a conflict, as an experience of oppression, but then seeing what could be generated from that, what transformative liberation can be generated from that, right? Transformative resistance. Reminding ourselves that embracing resistance is not a bad thing. We need this push and pull to continue to be engaged. If one person isn't pulling, it's just nothing goes anywhere, right? So we need to constantly, embrace these ideas of what I'm presenting could be maybe, not someone's truth, but it is my truth. It is a collective truth, and we want to share this story. So I dare you to be daring with that. So long as you're coming from an honest and vulnerable place, I think that's where the power lies. So last thing, working title. Again, one of the great things about a working title is that even something that a castmate of yours said that, maybe was like funny or kind of connected still to the project, to the work, could result in the working title. And then also, are you stepping into the unique value you bring into the work because of your cultural capital? Again, working collaboratively, you're all coming from all walks of life, right? And your story that you shared reflects that, reflects your part of your cultural capital assets, right? I hope that at this point you're walking, we're confident in recognizing the cultural capital assets you have acquired, coming from the background that you come from and what makes you you. And I hope that you're authentically bringing that into the work, showing up for yourself before anything else, showing up for yourself in that way. And that you're also moving from a place that's that, whether you are a theater student or a dance student, or you want to be engaged in both, who you are is in those, can navigate between those two places, right? Dance and theater. So you already there, you're already bringing the most important asset, which is yourself and your culture and where you come from. So I hope this has been helpful for you. I will just, again, record your phrases that you're developing. WhatsApp, Vimeo, YouTube, store them there. And then write your score, however you want to identify it. Your theater teacher can also, and your dance instructor can also help you with, if you want to go upstage or downstage or left or right, you can always receive help in the directions in that way. And what else? Oh, yes, the exercise. Please email me if you have any questions. I would be more than happy. Also, if you can get, if your teacher has time, I know they're always busy, or someone else can be the facilitator as well as that third person outside of the group to help facilitate a neutral facilitator for the exercise. And I think that's where we are so far. Please let me know if you need anything else. And I really appreciate you jumping into this journey with us here at Creative Careers Leadership Lab. So we'll see you soon. Thank you all.